So today I want to go over a few of the tools that I use for hobbying. I usually use many miniature holders. I got the Citadel brand ones, and this one is kind of beat up. I had it for a while. I used it to paint a whole bunch of minis. And if you use it for spray painting, I recommend that you use something else actually, because as you can see, it got some buildup here where the paint just settled and it won't close all the way. I mean, actually it does, never mind. But trying to get it unstuck is a pain. But this one was pretty reliable before that happened. I mean, you can take it apart and you can clean it for the most part, except for this part, which is spring-loaded. This was my old one, and I switched to the newer one, which is a little bit more reliable. It doesn't feel like it's as sturdy, but it gets the job done for the smaller miniatures that you have. And Citadel sells these, they're pretty good. As you can tell from the spray paint, I've used this for basing my models as well, which is probably not a good idea, but you know, to each their own. And then for my larger minis, I use the XL that I bought from Citadel. This one is pretty beat up. I mean, it still works, but it's got spray paint all over it. And, I mean, the springs still work. I've had this for probably about a year. And I prefer this one for large models like Hellbrutes or Leviathan Siege Dreadnoughts. They're pretty good quality, pretty sturdy. Then for my drills, for barrels and effects, for things like Death Guard, for holes, I bought this drilling set off of Amazon, and it gives you all the different type of drill bits you need. And this is a saw set. I bought this for stuff like kit bashing. It's pretty decent. I think this is the other one. It comes with a bunch of different types of miniature saws in it. This is ideal if you have to do things like kit bashing for lower armor legs or arms, what have you. There's a number of different ways of kit bashing. I might make some future videos. And then I got these two drill bits. One is Amazon, and I think the other one is Army Painter. But you can use either one of these if you need to drill out barrels or make effects on Death Guard kit bashes. I would recommend smaller bits, but you have to use different size small bits to put the holes to resemble armor decay. But these are both equally pretty good. You can get this one on Amazon, and you can get this one on Amazon as well. I'm pretty sure this one's Army Painter. It doesn't say it is. But those are my drills. And then I got a pair of snips for cutting out sprues and various kit bashes. I got this from an Elegoo Saturn 3D printer kit. Ever since then, it's been that's just my dog. It's been pretty useful for cutting out sprues. There's that. And this next thing I got off Amazon is for brush cleaner, Master's brush cleaner, and it's pretty useful. You just wet your brush, you put it in here, and you work it back and forth. As you can see, I haven't cleaned mine recently, but it cleans it, and then you rinse it out with some water, and it actually saves your brushes. It's really useful over time. It's a really good thing to have. But if you're having trouble cleaning your brushes, I would recommend getting this off of Amazon. It's called the Master's Brush Cleaner and Preserver. It's good for oil paint, watercolors, acrylics, and stains. This really came in useful. Now this is the hobby saw. I showed you the attachments earlier, and I got this off of Amazon as well. It's pretty useful. Manwa, I can't remember the brand name for it, but maybe it is Manwa. But these are pretty useful for cutting small plastic parts. The blades are a little thin, so you have to have patience because it's not something you could saw through in 2 seconds. But this is a useful tool. And how can we forget the X-Acto knife? You can use this for pretty much anything. Cutting off sprues, getting off edges on your miniatures that are the different parts of it. This is useful too. And then there's various glues that you can use. I've tried a whole bunch. This was the Citadel plastic glue that Citadel sells. I would not recommend it. It doesn't cure very well, and sometimes if you don't use the right amount, the pieces on the model will break off. It's I mean, like if you had to glue your models, I would say get it, but for the most part, I would use regular super glue or a different brand. I prefer using the Army Painter super glue because this works like regular super glue, and it doesn't really, you don't have to worry about the model pieces falling apart, and it's a good type of glue to use. I've also used regular crazy glue for crafts, and this is pretty much the same quality as this. If you are new to the hobby, I would recommend that you get some Army Painter super glue because that works best in my opinion. I've also used super glue gel by Gorilla, and this stuff works really good. If you ever want to take the arms off of a miniature or legs or what have you, I wouldn't recommend using this because if you glue it with this, it's stuck on for pretty much forever. Now there's different types of glue you can use for basing your models. Some models are bigger than others, and it's a little hard to glue. You can use a bunch of different types of stuff. There's things that you can buy off of the GW website or Amazon or eBay, and Martian Iron Crust is something I use for my Death Guard miniatures because I wanted to have them have kind of a Marsy looking base, and this is a good way to do your miniatures. But the problem with it is it gets expensive after a while because these paints aren't cheap. And what I prefer to use is Army Painter makes these kits that you can base with, and I just get a giant tub like this, and I pour out all the different types of terrain or the basing features that I want, and I mix it up into one giant container, so that way I can just take the miniatures like this and put the miniatures in like that, and after that base is glued, you have a base miniature, and it works pretty well. It's a lot easier than using the Citadel technical paints. Now to base it, I just got some Gorilla School Glue. You can use Elmer's glue or wood glue, and it works just the same. I wouldn't recommend using super glue because it gets a little expensive using that much super glue just for basing. So something like this will definitely work. I would recommend it, and this is probably one of the preferred methods for basing for me. And then I bought this at a local hobby store, and it's called Blended Turf by Woodland Scenics. Woodland Scenics sells some pretty good stuff. You can use this for basing too, and it's definitely something that's cheaper. I don't remember what I paid for this, but I remember it. I think I remember it being cheaper than the regular stuff that you get from Army Painter and other places. Another fun hobby tool I got was these. I can't remember the name of the kit, but you can get these off of Green Stuff World. And Green Stuff World sells these. You can use them to make tentacles or tubes. You just get some green stuff or a hobby putty, and you roll it into a straight line, and then you put it on here and you roll it on this, and the various types of panels you get will give you different looks. Some are closer together, some have a little bit more detail than others, and this is a medium, this is a small, this is a large, and they're fun to use if you're kit bashing stuff like Death Guard. I would recommend these if you are kit bashing and you need to make tentacles. They're pretty good to work with. And then next is brushes. And I have various brushes that I bought from Citadel, and then other brushes that I just got from Walmart, and some brushes I got from Army Painter. And the Army Painter brushes work pretty well. Also have a tool for basing, and I also have sculpting tools that I got from Green Stuff World, and these work great too. Depending upon the type of brush you're using for the various projects you could have, I would probably recommend Army Painter brushes because they work good. Citadel brushes work just as good, but they're more expensive. If you have the money for Citadel brushes, I would recommend Citadel brushes, but there's just because sometimes they have a finer point, and the type of brushes you have, Army Painter, various types of brushes you can use, they're different in quality. You have hair brushes and you have synthetic brushes, and I don't like synthetic brushes as much as the hair brushes, because the hair brushes, you can get a finer point on them, and they're easier for detail work. So I would recommend getting a hair brush if, see, this one's kind of beat up. This is one of my layer brushes I've had for a long time. Can't really see the tip. And for my, for rinsing my brushes and washing my brushes, I got this Citadel, Citadel water holder. You can use a coffee cup if you don't have the budget, but I got these because it has grooves in it, and it makes it a little bit easier for cleaning your brushes, just because of the grooves. And it's got, like, you can tell it's definitely designed for someone who's painting. I mean, like, you can use a coffee cup or what have you. You can really use anything for rinsing your brushes, but I would recommend buying one of these off of the Games Workshop website just because they work so well.